Do you ever calculate your tarot card for the year? That's what we're talking about today on Beyond the Shuffle. And hi, I'm Adrienne Amari, your host, guide, and tarot lover. And this podcast is a cozy rabbit hole where tarot leads the way into curiosity, self-reflection, and the beautiful mess of being human. So settle in, open your mind, and let's go beyond the shuffle. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today on Beyond the Shuffle is the collective tarot card for the year. And I think it's kind of interesting to look at where we're coming from and what we're moving into. So we're coming from the year of the Hermit, because if you add 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5, 2025, you get the number 9. And 9 in the major arcana is the Hermit, which means that this past year as a collective was a year of introspection, of soul searching, of really digging in and figuring out who you are and where those answers are leading you. The Hermit goes up into his mountain, and instead of listening to all the chaos around him, he quiets out the outside world so that he can hear himself think. And I think a lot of people this year have experienced that. They've done a lot of soul searching. They've had spiritual awakenings. And it's been a tumultuous year for many, to say the least, but that so often comes when we're left alone to our own devices and with our own thoughts. The Hermit is also a card of isolation, of spending time for yourself, of really looking for that wisdom that comes from within. And I think people have tried to slow down and do more of that this year. And I don't mean isolation where you're forced to stay at home and not go out like we had a couple of years ago in the pandemic. This is one that's that chosen isolation, where we're like, look, this chaos isn't working for me. I'm tired of doom scrolling. I'm tired of everybody else's opinions. I just need to go check in with me, check in with myself, and see where I stand. I know personally this is something I've been doing, but I have been seeing this more online where people are disconnecting themselves so that they can have that time to process things on their own, because we do need that. And I do think it's valuable to take a little bit of time and reflect on that a bit. Is that something that you leaned into in 2025? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. And the tarot card for the year, especially for the collective year, isn't something that you should stake your whole life on or anything like that. It's just different shifts in energy which are worth considering and just kind of keeping in the back of your mind. So with that said, the year of 2026 is the year that we step into the Wheel of Fortune, because if you add 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6, you get 10. Now, some people will argue that maybe this should be the year of the Magician because 1 plus 0 equals 1. And I can see where that's coming from, but because we didn't have to reduce in 2025, I feel that the next logical energy that we're moving into is the Wheel of Fortune. So take that or leave that as you will. Use whichever makes most sense for you. But for this episode, we're talking about 2026 being the year of the Wheel of Fortune. So what the heck does that even mean? Now, the Wheel of Fortune is a year of change, which I think many of us are very much ready for. It is the cycles of life, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, and it is the reminder that we don't get to be in control of everything. So it really encourages us to go with the flow, to trust divine timing, to trust the universe, to be open to shedding skin and getting new information and new knowledge as it comes. It's a card that represents a turning point. It can be karma. What you put out is what you attract back, and maybe the amplification of that type of manifestation. And no matter where you're starting 2026, the Wheel of Fortune is the reminder that we are not at the top of the wheel forever, nor are we at the bottom of the wheel forever, because the wheel is movement and it keeps on going whether or not we want it to. If we dig our heels in and try to stop the wheel from turning, we're just getting in our own way. And that's why it's so much about the allowance of that flow, knowing that it's not about punishment and reward. It's just the experience that we're having, the human experience that takes us on that ride. But like I said before, the Wheel of Fortune is movement, it's change, and I think a lot of people are ready for this in 2026. And even though the magician is that master manifester, the very much as above, so below kind of feeling, the Wheel of Fortune is that reminder that if we are energetically putting out what we want to receive, it's far more likely to come back at us. And I think it's important to note that we can say that to a certain extent. There are things that happen to us that are not in alignment with us, that we do not ask for, that we do not put energy out there for. So I don't want to make it sound like, oh, just put all the best energy out there and you'll get the best things back. Because let's be real, as the Wheel of Fortune says, there are things in life beyond our control. But what we can do is show up, ride those ebbs and flows, and set ourselves up in a way where we can utilize this movement, this momentum, this divinity to really attract what it is we want in this life. So no pressure there at all, right? Now, we're talking about the collective card for the year. On top of that, we all have a personal tarot card for the year that's based on our birthday. So if you've never done this before, what you're going to do is you're going to take the year plus your birth month plus your birth day. So for example, I was born on June 13th, so I'm going to do 2026 plus 6 for June plus 13 for the day and see what that totals. Full disclosure, I totally had to use a calculator for that, so no judgment if you had to run to yours as well. But once you've added those up, you should have 4 numbers. Then you're going to take each of those numbers and add them together. So for example, mine totaled 2045. So I'm going to go 2 plus 0 plus 4 plus 5, which equals 11. Now our goal here is to get a number between 1 and 22. So if you added those up and you have a number that's higher than 22, you're going to add your numbers together again. If you've added them up and you've received a number between 10 and 22, this is where you might have to do a little bit of work. So what I would do is look at the 2 numbers that you could potentially be. So I'm 11, which means I could be 11 or I could be 2 because 1 plus 1 is 2. So I'm going to go look at the year prior. So do I think for me personally, was 2025 a 1 year, the year of the magician? Or was it more a 10-year, the year of the Wheel of Fortune? And if you want more reference on this, go to adrianamari.com, click on blog. If you scroll down, you'll see an article all about the tarot cards for 2025. So you can go and read about each personal year number and see between the two which makes more sense for you for 2025. Once you know that, you can do the next logical number for 2026. So me personally, I feel like 2025 was very much a magician year for me. There was a lot of change, a lot of stepping into confidence, a lot of showing up intentionally and taking intentional action towards what I was actually creating. I also got super into manifestation this year, which I feel like totally aligns with the magician, much more so than the Wheel of Fortune. So I believe that for me, it was a 1 year. So this coming year, 2026, I'm going to do a 2 year instead of 11 because that just feels much more aligned. Tarot is so much a personal journey, so you can't really choose wrong. Go with what feels best for you. But if you did get a number between 1 and 9, no more work, pretty easy for you. That would be your card for the year. So I hope you have your number worked out. If you want to check it or ask any questions, feel free to send me a message or an email. You can always email beyondtheshuffle@adrianamari.com to get in touch with me if you wish. But I'm going to go through each card for the year, talk about it a little bit, and talk about what it means paired with the Wheel of Fortune. And as I'm sure you've realized by now, I really can talk tarot forever, so I will try to make these reasonably succinct. But over the next couple of weeks, I will also be working on publishing a blog article about this, so keep your eyes open on my social media for when that comes out. And before we dive in, I would like to invite you to join the Tarot Lab. It's my new membership coming out in 2026. So if you're into tarot, whether you're a beginner or you've been practicing for a while, the Tarot Lab is a place to explore, to learn more, and to experiment with the cards. It's not a tarot course, it's a masterclass series where every month we'll have a different masterclass on how to work with the cards in different ways. You'll also have a tarot practice session plus 2 office hours where you can drop in, ask questions, ask for interpretation help, or ask for free card pulls. Everything officially starts on February 1st, but if you join early, you'll be able to join the masterclass live on January 15th. That's all about intention setting with the cards. So if you head over to adrianamari.com/thetarot you can sign up for the waitlist and be notified when enrollment is ready. And I'm just really excited to be bringing this out into the world, and I would love to see you there. All right, so let's talk about the personal cards for the year. If you are number 1, you are the Magician. So 2026 is your year to step into your confidence and step into your power. You have all the skills, talents, resources. You are enough as you are right now to create the reality that you desire. But it does take action, intentional action, not just, oh, I'm doing it, when we both know you're not really doing it. So take that intentional action towards creating the reality that you want to be in. With the Wheel of Fortune, I feel like this gives the Magician a little bit of extra power, because when the Magician allows himself to really embody the energy that he wishes to have in his life, that's when things start moving, and that's where the Wheel of Fortune comes in. It's very much we're going to put the energy out there and attract more of it back to us. The Magician also is that trust in the divine, so while he knows his part, or you know your part in things, remember that there's a universe out there waiting to back you up, so let it do that. One downside to the Wheel of Fortune plus the Magician would be if things don't go according to plan, knowing that you can't control it all, there can be a loss of confidence, a loss of motivation, and taking a step back. So don't fall into the trap, because remember, with the wheel, we're not on the top forever and it's going to keep on turning. If you are number 2, like me, you are the High Priestess. This is a year of really leaning into your intuition, tuning into those gut feelings, listening to subconscious messages from the universe, accepting the unknown, because the High Priestess knows that she doesn't always get all the answers. So allowing yourself to kind of give in to that mystery a bit. With the Wheel of Fortune, we have so much of that divine timing. So allowing things to show up and happen as they will, instead of trying to force them per se. The downside or the challenge with the Wheel of Fortune and the High Priestess can be too much of that, let's just go with the flow, let's just be open to the messages, because we do still have to take action and agency. We can't have a year of sitting back and just hoping everything's going to work out. So still making sure that we have agency while giving into the universe, into that energy, into that innate wisdom. Year number 3 is the Empress, and this is your year to connect to your feminine side regardless of what your gender is. We all have that divine feminine within us. It is the spark of creation, so really taking your ideas and rooting them, grounding them into life. She is confident, beautiful, comfortable, so leaning into those energies. Focusing a little bit more on that self-love and that self-care, whilst still nurturing others, because the Empress does want to take care of those that she loves. Also connecting with the world around you, because that groundedness, that earthliness is so important to her. Now with the Wheel of Fortune, it's all about allowing yourself to receive, because when you're allowing yourself to receive, you'll find that there's much more abundance coming into your life. The Empress is also making it a great year for personal growth, but with the Wheel of Fortune there, the challenge is forcing the growth. We don't have to be forceful. It's kind of like a seed that blooms. We have to allow it to grow, we have to nurture it, we have to tend to it, and it will grow, but we can't force it to do anything it's not ready for. Now, if you are number 4, you are the year of the Emperor, which is really giving into more of your masculine side, taking action, being in control, protecting what you've built, not in a omen, bad news kind of way, but just making sure that you have that protection in place. The Emperor thrives on stability, so we want to make sure that our walls are nice and solid. And of course, making sure that you're staying disciplined in your pursuit. One thing I love about the Emperor, if you look at the card, he's sitting on his throne, but he's actually wearing his armor under his robes. So it is that reminder to be ready or prepared for anything. Now with the Wheel of Fortune, that can cause a little friction because the Wheel of Fortune says you can't know everything that's going to happen. You can't know everything that's going to come. So it's finding balance between those two energies. Of knowing when to dig your heels in and try to control a situation and when to give in to more of that divine timing and that flow. One last thing about the Emperor is making sure we're giving in to routines and structure that help us move and help us make those changes and don't get in our way of progress. Number 5 is the year of the Hierophant, so focusing on your belief systems, on conventional wisdom, on learning and gaining more wisdom, or taking what you've learned and sharing it with others. The Hierophant loves community, like-minded souls, how we're showing up within society. Exploring more of your spiritual or religious nature might work really, really well for you in 2026. But of course, that Wheel of Fortune encourages us to be open and to see where things take us. There is a little bit of rigidity sometimes to the Hierophant, so we want to make sure we're not being boxed in and we're still allowing things to move and shift and change, and that we don't get stuck in one specific ideal. Year number 6 is the year of the Lovers. So for you, this means that relationships take center stage. It's really important to focus on the connections that you have in your life. Now, the Lovers is a card of duality and a card of choice. So it's the reminder that you get to choose how much access you're giving people to yourself and to your energy. So make sure you're choosing wisely. The Lovers is also about making sure that you're showing up authentically and making choices that are aligned with the life you want to be leading, not with what you think other people want for you or what society is dictating for you. It's a year of not giving into obligation and of really choosing your own path, which can be difficult but so empowering. With the Wheel of Fortune, it's really about making the decision when the door is open. As things move and as this wheel turns, you have to choose which doors you're going through. Now, as a challenge, it does show that there's hesitation sometimes, maybe indecision, maybe the idea of, oh, if I just wait, it's all going to work out. And that's really giving away some of your power because the Lovers wants us to choose what we know at our core is best for us. So no sitting on the fence and just hoping all the cards fall into place. Year number 7 is the year of the Chariot. So this is really great if you're wanting to get stuff done. The Chariot is all about success and victory at the cost of willpower and determination. So it says focus on, first and foremost, where the heck you want to go, and then it's pedal to the metal. It's about self-discipline, staying focused, taking the reins and doing what you need to get where you want to go, but knowing that you are going to have to leave your comfort zone if you wish to accomplish your goals. If you expect to stay the same forever and still get what you want, that's not how it's going to work. I love this with the Wheel of Fortune because it does show there's a great potential for success, for growth, for movement here. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we're not fighting for control or fighting for a specific direction. So 100% know your destination, know what you want to get, but don't be so stuck in the route that you think you need to get there that you're getting in your own way. Number 8 is the year of strength. So really allowing yourself to tap into that inner strength, that inner courage, that confidence, that fortitude that you have within. It encourages you to lean into compassion and kindness, especially for yourself. Strength is actually a very gentle card. It's not that strong, forceful willpower control that we see in the Chariot. It's that quiet strength that helps us navigate some of the more difficult things in life. So knowing that you have that within you and relying on that to get through challenges. It's also a year of giving yourself some grace and some forgiveness because that alone takes a great deal of strength. Paired with the Wheel of Fortune, strength gives us the courage we need to deal with the ups and downs that come with the change that the wheel brings. So for those times where you feel like you're at the bottom of the wheel and you just keep getting run over, that's when that strength really comes out and really pulls you through. And that's not to say that there's going to be a lot of that energy next year, But it's that reminder that, when we feel downtrodden, it's easier to be hard on ourselves and it's sometimes harder to tap into that strength. So knowing that you have that to rely on can be so powerful. If you are number 9, you are the year of the Hermit, which we've talked about because it was the card for 2025. So very much a year of introspection, of soul searching, of listening to your inner guidance, of having time in isolation or alone time just so that you can hear yourself think, and of having the trust to follow your own guidance and your own wisdom. Because realistically, sometimes that's actually the hardest part of the Hermit, where it's like you know what to do, you know what path to follow, but actually navigating and taking steps down that path is the actual challenge. With the Wheel of Fortune, it can feel like things are happening quickly, which goes against what the Hermit feels comfortable with. So it's really grappling with that timing, not acting just because you feel rushed, but also not being too patient or taking too long on those actions when you know it's the right way for you to go. If you're number 10, you are a double Wheel of Fortune year, which just really means harnessing all that Wheel of Fortune energy we've talked about at the beginning. So allowing yourself to roll with the punches, to put the energy out that you want to get back, to trust the universe and timing, to know that things are always moving and shifting and changing, and to allowing yourself to go with that versus trying to stop that wheel from turning. And honestly, the biggest challenge in the Wheel of Fortune is having that trust and letting go of that semblance of control. Number 11 is a justice year. So this is a year for you to be honest, to act with integrity, to really consider your morals when you're making choices. It's a card of accountability, of cause and effect. So keeping in mind the choices you're making and what the consequences are of those actions. At the end of the day, the one who's really weighing your decisions is you. So you do need to make sure that you're making choices and that you're acting in a way that is what you want and what you can feel good about at the end of the day. Justice is a card of fairness, so making sure that you are being fair and honest with yourself. And when I say honest, I don't mean mean or berate yourself. And this fairness means both to yourself and to others. With the Wheel of Fortune, that could show decisions that have to be made quickly, and that can be a hard thing if you're trying to weigh the pros and cons and trying to find a good balanced outcome. So making sure that you have clarity as you're making choices. And as a challenge, the Wheel of Fortune can feel unfair. When that wheel turns and it's not what you wanted, it can feel unfair. So justice asks us to look at the bigger picture and not get so drowned out in the details. Number 12 is Year of the Hanged Man. So this is the year to kind of take a step back from time to time, to slow down. I don't mean every day, but to slow down and to see where you are from different perspectives and different angles. Sometimes with the Hanged Man, we have to take a step back before we're able to go forward. So allow yourself that grace and that opportunity, because if we just keep plowing ahead, we don't always go where we're meant to. So sometimes by taking that moment of pause, taking that time to contemplate, taking that time to wait and see where the cards fall before you make your next decision can get you further ahead in the long run. Now with the Wheel of Fortune and the Hanged Man, I love the energy of surrendering. This is your year to surrender, and with the Wheel of Fortune, we're surrendering to the flow, we're surrendering to the divine timing of things. It's also kind of that acceptance that things are rolling as they are, and there's not a whole lot we can do about it, so let's surrender to that energy and that action. And again, it's not saying this is a year where you do nothing or anything like that. There's still agency, there's still action, there's still forward movement, but make sure you're doing it in a way that is thoughtful and that you've actually thought through. If you are number 13, you are the Year of Death, which is not nearly as scary as it sounds. This shows that 2026 is a year for deep transformation, of closing doors and allowing new ones to open. Death is all about endings that lead to new beginnings. So what old, outdated parts of your life do you need to release and let go of so that you can make way for what's coming in? It's a great card for rebirth and for really transforming into And with the Wheel of Fortune, it's that reminder that it's probably about time, that this change is something that's inevitable, that is actually bigger than you or greater than you. So embrace it, trust it, instead of fearing it. I think the challenge here is kind of the timing of everything, and then just knowing that change is uncomfortable. It's not meant to be comfortable. If you think about the goo that a butterfly has to go through, that probably doesn't feel great because it definitely doesn't look nice. So thinking about it that way, where it's like it's not something to fear because something beautiful is on the other side, and with that Wheel of Fortune, kind of just trusting the whole process. Year number 14 is the year of temperance. So this year is really about leaning into patience, to moderation, to finding a comfortable balance in your inner and your outer worlds. It's really about wholeness. So how can you integrate all parts of yourself to become whole? We can't ignore the parts we don't like and think that we're whole. We have to integrate them all. It's also a great year for connecting with what harmony and inner peace looks like for you and finding spaces in your life where you can just sit down and enjoy that. I also really like temperance for mindfulness, so something that's worth looking into or focusing on for 2026. Now, with the Wheel of Fortune, temperance is all about maintaining that balance amidst the change, especially change that you feel like you don't have agency over. So it can feel like we're constantly rebalancing, but that is part of life, right? You don't find balance one day and it lasts forever. So making sure that you're continuing to pour that water back and forth and keeping a mind on both your inner and outer worlds. Number 15, you are Year of the Devil. Now, this is a year to really reclaim your power. It's about confronting bad habits that you're giving into, coping mechanisms, obsessions, addictions, whatever vice you have. It's about confronting it and working through it. What is taking your power away, and how can you get your power back? Could be a great year for shadow work as well, if that's something that you're interested in. And I think in this day and age, a great way to look at the devil is that of distraction. So what are you allowing yourself to be distracted by? How is that taking you off course? And how can you get back on where you want to be? Now, paired with the Wheel of Fortune, it's very interesting because the devil is the illusion of control. We think we're in control, but we're not. We're giving our power away to something that's not good for us, right? And the wheel comes in and says, well, you don't really have control over this situation. So it's making sure that you find the balance over giving away control as an excuse or an escape mechanism versus you don't actually have control over this. So being realistic and honest with yourself in those circumstances. But because that Wheel of Fortune is that change and that momentum and that movement, it also shows that once we start confronting these dark and difficult things, we can pick up pace and it becomes easier and easier to shed them. All right, number 16, the Tower. The Tower is a year of fundamental change. And as you're moving into 2026, you probably already have an idea of what changes you want to happen or what needs to happen. And I think it's easy to get spooked by the Tower because it can be chaos, upheaval, and destruction. And maybe there is some of that in the next year, but I am not a bad omens kind of person because the Tower usually comes when we're resisting making the changes that we need to make. We already know there are holes in the foundation. We already know there's cracks. Maybe we've tried to patch them. Maybe we're just blatantly ignoring them. But the Tower can come down in two ways. The first way is you dismantle and you rebuild. The second way is you wait and the universe pushes it all down for you. It's coming down one way or another, but one way is a little bit easier. So with the Tower, this year is really about looking at your fundamental beliefs, what you've built upon, what's no longer working, and then not being afraid to tear that down and build again. And with the Wheel of Fortune, when we allow ourselves that luxury to do that, and it might not feel like luxury at the time, but when we allow ourselves to do that, we are much more aligned with where we're meant to be. And that's showing ourselves, showing the universe that, you know what, I know this isn't working. I'm ready for something better, something more. So when you start dismantling and rebuilding, things will start moving for you because you're proving to yourself more than anything that this is the direction you have to go. And that's when things pick up and change for the better. Now, if you're a year of one of the more difficult cards like Death, the Devil, or the Tower, which I don't necessarily think are more difficult, but people tend not to love those ones, it doesn't mean you're going to have a bad 2026. So please do not go into the new year thinking that it's doomed. That is 100% not the case. It just shows that there are some potential shifts and changes that are going to be happening and gives you an idea of how to deal with it. So as you know, the human experience is filled with ups and downs as the Wheel of Fortune dictates, and if you want to give in to the fear and the difficulty and the misery, then yes, you are 100% going to get more of that. I truly believe that. But if you approach it as a way to experience, to learn, to grow, to rebuild, then you can come out the other side so much more powerful and make the most out of 2026, which is ideally what I want for you. All right, we're rounding out the last few here. So if you are number 17, you are the year of the star. This is a year of the dust settling, of hope, of inspiration, of renewal, of leaning into that generosity, that beauty, that awe in the universe. The star tells you this is not your year to hide anymore, that we're going to put ourselves out there and we're going to shine bright. Sounds cheesy, but we're doing it. And the star is having that innate trust in yourself and trust in the universe, which I think plays so well into the Wheel of Fortune because the Wheel of Fortune also has that trust element to it. The Wheel of Fortune is, look, we keep going round and round, and the star is having solace in knowing that you will be caught. And when I say caught, I mean in a good way, like caught and taken care of, which if you're having a star year, that means your previous year was the Tower. So there were a lot of shifts and changes. And that's not to say that movement won't be happening in 2026, but there is a little bit of ease to it because we have come through that experience. And I also feel like the star is very much the opportunity to show the world, the universe, yourself, exactly who you are as you traverse that up and down of the Wheel of Fortune. Year number 18 is Year of the Moon. So another great year to really hone that intuition and get clarity on what you're perceiving versus what is actually happening. The moon can be fears and anxieties and insecurities, and I am in no way saying your year is filled with those things, but it is a great time to confront a lot of that. To really recognize where you're making things more difficult for yourself by letting your imagination run wild. But in the same vein, 2026 could be a great year for that creative spirit and for getting those stories out of your brain and into some kind of expression, which could be art or writing or speaking, whatever it is. But taking it from that inner subconscious world and allowing it to come out so that it's not staying stuck in you. The moon is often a card of uncertainty because if you look at the world in the moonlight, things look very different. And it matches the unpredictability that the Wheel of Fortune can bring. So making sure that you're not allowing yourself to become absorbed in that uncertainty, in that confusion, in that fog, and finding your way through the changes that the wheel brings through finding clarity and using your intuition. Number 19, yours is the Year of the Sun. This is the year to really focus on joy, happiness, freedom. What makes you laugh? What fills your heart? It's a great card for achievement and success, but really realizing that you can be happy and have those things, not that you're happy when you have those things. And I talked a lot about this a few episodes ago in the happiness episode, so go take a listen if you want more of that. With the Wheel of Fortune, it can bring up feelings of fear, especially when things are going well, because we all know that that cycle will keep going. And it's making sure you're not giving into the, oh my goodness, what happens when I lose everything? Again, not saying that you're going to, but it's not allowing yourself to dismantle or to disengage from the joy, from the success, from the happiness that you have because you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Really giving yourself the time to focus on happiness, radiance, vitality in the moment when you have it. Okay, number 20, the card of Judgment. Now, this isn't a year where you're going to sit there judging every dumb mistake you've made, But 2026 is a year for recognizing patterns, for self-evaluation, for reflection, not living in the past, but seeing where you've come from so that you don't repeat the same mistakes you've made before. It's also a great year for stepping into what you believe your calling is and listening to a higher self or a higher sense of purpose. With the Wheel of Fortune, we do have that turning point. So paired with Judgment, that is so powerful because it really is reaching that point where you're like, this is the direction I know I have to take. But of course, the challenge comes in really being able to trust that. Year 21, the world. So this is a year, first and foremost, of giving yourself opportunities to really see your successes and your achievements. So often we always jump into the next thing that we forget to slow down and be like, you know what? Look how far I've come. I'm pretty awesome that I achieved all this. So giving yourself that time and that space to process where you are. It's a great year for allowing things to come to an end, for gaining closure, for finishing up big projects, for reaching goals, which I love all of that. Now, the world also asks us to pause and integrate our experiences, our lessons, our achievements, maybe even our failures into who we are and where we are for, again, that sense of wholeness. And the difficult part with the Wheel of Fortune and the world together is there's this kind of finding balance between the stop and the go. The world loves closure. It loves bringing everything to a nice, tidy end. And the Wheel of Fortune says, cool, we're not done yet though. We're going to keep on going. So it's making sure that we feel comfortable with those endings, comfortable enough to pause, but still motivated to continue on and to prepare and maybe even step into that next phase. Last but not least, number 22, the Fool. Now, if you're familiar with tarot and you're thinking, wait a second, Adrienne, the Fool is 0. Why the heck are you doing it at 22? That's because no numbers can equal 0. You'll never get the Fool. So the Fool is the beginning and the end of the major arcana. So for these purposes, we make him number 22, which means your year is a year of fresh starts, of new beginnings, and of new adventures. It's about saying yes, of taking a leap of faith, maybe a little bit of risk, and allowing yourself to go into things for the experience, not necessarily the end destination. And with the Wheel of Fortune thrown there into the mix, it can feel very uncertain, and there will be times where you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. The good news is the Fool doesn't really care that he has no idea what he's doing, and you can learn more about this card in my very first episode. But of course, it's one thing to say that, and it's another thing to feel it. So it's allowing yourself to move with that momentum, to see what the universe has in store for you, and to go for it with full gusto. Now, I do want to throw in there, at the same time, we are living a human life here, so we want to make sure that there is some ground under our feet. So please take this metaphorically from a development standpoint versus I'm going to risk all my money on some ridiculous thing. Just have to put that little disclaimer in there. So there we have it. There are the 22 cards for 2026. What they mean briefly and what they mean paired with our overarching energy, the Wheel of Fortune. I encourage you just to reflect on some of these themes, think about how they make you feel, think about what intentions you want to set for 2026, what goals do you want to meet, and how can these energies help you achieve and accomplish that. I do just want to reiterate that none of this dictates or predicts whether you're going to have a good 2026 or a bad 2026. So much of that is up to you because you're in the driver's seat, you're in control of your destiny. So take aligned action and make choices, maybe based on some of the energy that we talked about today, that reflect the life you want to be living. And if this is something you'd like to explore more about, know that you can always book a tarot session with me at adrianamari.com. Thank you so much for being here. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave me a comment or give me a like or follow wherever you love listening to your podcasts. And I will be back on January 7th with a brand new episode of Beyond the Shuffle. So until then, stay safe, stay curious, enjoy your holidays, and I'll see you next time.